Hello, darling. It's been a long time. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. See here. We had a little sound issue, so hopefully everybody can hear me. We can only hope. Hope, 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 hope. Greetings and salutations, Mr. JS Twitch. I hope you are having a CAV-tastic Wednesday. Let me sing you some more Conway Twitty songs. Hello, darling. Putting up new shelf in my mini room. Just like one shelf? One shelf? New shelf? One shelf? If it's one shelf, it'd be it. One shelf? Shelves. So you're putting up new shelves. Okay. That's okay. Hey, I'm just making sure that we're all on the same planet here. Hello, Ilmrin. Hello, darling. In a Conway Twitty mood today. Most people have probably no idea who that is, but I am the Twitty bird. What was I trying to do? I need to put some shelves up somewhere. Still trying to get my upstairs redone. Never get everything finished. The never-ending story of my life. Hello, darling. Oh, kind of a weird day. Experimenting with bugbear fur as an undercoat for Adon Orange and Emergency Yellow. Cool. I'm hoping now that ReaperCon is over that we will get the rest of the other 4 colors that are supposed to be part of the, no, it's not 4 colors. It would be 10 colors. There's 10 more colors coming for the Rock and Terran sets. There's 6 each. I was thinking there's 6 total, but there's 6 for each of them. I guess everybody can hear me okay. My sound was acting up and I had to redo everything like 3 minutes before I started. It pops the yellow well, the orange starts muted, but layers up well. Well, good, good. I thought they were really good colors. Those in there, the goblin and bugbear and ogre and all those. I thought those were kind of neat colors. I'm really hip on, I was looking at some older pictures earlier today, that green and orange that Ross did for the Amethyl models that he's been working on. Those, I think those were some badass looking colors. It went really, really well. I could see an orange and a brown going together real good. But looks like Chandler and folks had a really good ReaperCon. Played several games, run a bunch of demos. Ross was mentioning today that he's got 5 or 6 people hitting him up to come out to Texas Toy Soldier and play CAV with them. So that's good. Build it and they will come. I know that I plan on this fall making a point to get some games days set up over in Wichita, over at the store that shall not be named right now. I've decided I'm just going to go over there and grab my table and go. And then still working on trying to put something around here together too. But and then try to get down to Tulsa a couple of times. Play with the Tulsa guys. I spent the afternoon. I thought I had my building that I showed you last week pretty much done, and then I was putting a new one together and was getting ready to paint it. And I was working on that Saturday, getting the stuff for the windows to go behind the windows, the way that I had it set up, and it worked. I should have brought it up here to show it to you, but it's down on my desk. But the average modeler would have a lot of trouble getting it all to line up just right. So after ginning on it here for a couple of days, I decided I'm going to go ahead and cut the windows out. That way you can either leave them open, or you can put, if you just want to put some kind of a cardboard behind it, or we'll have the sheets that you can print out and put behind them too. I just think it'll make it much, much easier. I spent a lot of time getting those things to line up, and with the way it's built, and it just wasn't going to work the way I wanted it to work. That would be relatively easy for the average modeler. But I did go out today. I didn't realize it was going to be so hard, so I may have to break down and buy the real stuff. I went up to Walmart looking for some black eye powder, and couldn't hardly find any black. I finally found a couple of little pots that I want to experiment with. I've watched a couple of videos on YouTube. Most of the guys are actually using the more expensive, the weathering powders, which really, in the grand scheme of things, I think all those are is ground up chalk. But I wanted to try it out first with just the eyeshadow, because that stuff's dirt cheap compared to what the real stuff is. But I really, really like the effect that I've seen it do with a couple of the videos that I've watched, and those pictures that I put up the other day of the guy doing it on the airplane on the forums. And well, I don't know that we've got a Halloween shop opened up here yet. That's a good idea. I'll look and see. And when like I said, I got 2 or 3 pots. I think they were, I don't know, about that size, about 1/2 inch thick. I think they were $2 a piece or something like that. I know that that guy was talking about, and I need to go check out like Dollar General. I think that guy that was putting up his video or his pictures the other day had got those at a dollar store, some cheapy place. But I really, really think that those will work really good for MDF stuff, because obviously if you just primer the thing, you can still see the lines, but they're not maybe as dark as you'd want them to be or whatever. And if you do a wash over the whole thing, you can do that. But man, that's a big model to have to do that over. And I think that the way that stuff fills in the cracks and the lines will work out really good. And at the same time, you're giving the outside of it a much more weathered look. I really think it'll look great on the drop ship and certainly on buildings. So, because you can use the black, you can use some brown, some rust and spots, some red brown, and it's basically the last thing that you put on, as opposed to normally with a wash. That's the first thing that goes on after your base coat, and it's very controllable. You can get it in the cracks. You can spread it around a little bit if you don't like it where it's at. You can dust it off or use a wet brush a little bit. You can mix it up with a little bit of water if you want some, water runoff look and stuff like that. Let it all dry, spray it down with matte sealer, and you're good to go. But I had hoped I was going to try to get another one of the buildings cut tonight, and was going to put it together on the show. And I just ran out of time. I got the file updated with the stuff that I wanted to do, and then I had a couple things I had to do in the shop before it got too late before the show, and ran out of time. Been a crazy week so far. I apparently, and I found out this last Thursday, for about the last week and a half, I've had it in my side. My right side has really been hurting me. Goes from the front all the way to the back, especially sore in the back. I thought I'd pulled a muscle or something like that. I've been spending a lot of time on the tractor, doing some dirt work and stuff. And so I figured, I twist around to look in the back. So I figure I pulled a muscle, but I went and saw my doctor on Thursday. It was my 6-month checkup, which, by the way, everything was fine, other than I was hurting. And so he poked and prodded around a little bit, and he's relatively convinced that I have cracked a rib. So, and he basically took a finger and poked me in a spot. He said, "Oh, does this hurt?" And I said, "Oh, I think I just peed." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "That's probably what it is." So I've been kind of gimped up, working with that. He gave me some medicine that has helped. Good stuff. So that's kind of helped this week. But I'm working on, as usual, like 5 projects at the same time, and a couple of them at home. We had some of you have followed along with the life and times of the Walker residence with our basement and air conditioner and everything. Well, we had a really good rain last week, and lo and behold, our brand new finished basement leaked in 2 places. So we're waiting for them to come over and figure out what happened, what went wrong. So I've got that to look forward to. Crazy. It's just crazy. But I really had a hankering. It's funny. I was talking to James earlier in chat. I've really been having a hankering to play a game. So that's going to kind of get me motivated to get my table put back together upstairs, and do. I watched some people doing some battle reports, and they're good. I know it's obviously, if you take the time just to video it, tape it, and then come back in and edit it out, you can get a lot shorter and kind of get to the high points. If you do it live and you have the whole thing, you end up with a 2-hour plus video too. It's kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. But I think I'd like to get back into putting a decent sized game together, and maybe, stream an hour here, an hour there. Roll those bones. Voila. Oh, look at all the 6s. Looks like it's quiet night. Wore everybody out. Maybe it's a short week. Because it's a short week, nobody. I don't want to watch it. I kind of had to step up and do a little show on Saturday. Chris had something come up at the last minute, so he wasn't able to stream. So I jumped on so that at least tell people what was going on and talk a little bit about my buildings that I was working on. Well, cool. I'm glad that you're painting. I probably, unless something big comes up, I'll probably just call it at 8:30 tonight, just do a half-hour show. Yeah, I will. I haven't decided yet if I want to try to hammer it, and do a game every weekend for a month or something like that to kind of get people used to me being up there. I probably can't hang any posters yet or anything like that. So my hope is that if I get people interested in it, that the guy will end up starting to be a little more accommodating to what we're doing and start carrying the product in there. Crazy people, crazy people. We don't want your sales. We don't want to sell nothing. Then edit it with commentary. Yeah. Yeah, I could do that. I could come back in and edit it out. Because when I did that Saturday thing that we played a couple of games, my son Nate joined me with the first one, and then the second one I kind of did solo. But I really enjoyed those. Those went really well. I think it did a good job of showing the game and what you can do and what you can play with it. I know that we've had a big surge in rule books and stuff coming out, so we've slowly, ever since probably May or June, probably more June, orders and stuff has really started picking up again. We were right up until COVID, we were going up a steady percentage of increase every month. Most months, 2-digit increases. And then, man, when COVID hit, it just down off the cliff. I'm pretty, and I think what helps too is I'm pretty good at disassociation. I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, but I can kind of split my brain in half, and one half of the brain doesn't tell the other half what's going on. So you actually kind of get a dual personality type game without me having to cheat. Well, thank you, Hobby Habit, for subscribing for your 7th month on a 6-month streak. Woohoo! Hello, hello. How are you? I know another thing, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do a program to, and Hobby coming in kind of reminded me that of getting other people to start posting videos, of games, of stuff, because we hear all the time they're playing here and they played there and they did this, they painted that, and we need to get more people to put content up on the web. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in now. And so, I got to find something that I can get some existing shows to, pick some things up, or get some new people in to do some things, sponsor a couple of shows and whatnot. So that's on my list to really get going, because I certainly don't have enough time to do a lot more of those type videos. So we've just got to get some more. Well, I'm sorry that you've been in a funk and health stuff, but hopefully that's behind you and everything worked out okay. So we welcome you back with open arms. Yeah, no, and I know and I talk to Party Bear from time to time, and he's got his fingers dabbling in a lot of different things. Well, hopefully you'll give me enough of a heads up, and we can try to promote it a little bit for you. I've got two. I've got 2 full ones that I'm working on, and then I've got my crashed one that I've been working on, and that's what I was talking about earlier. I went and got some black eyeshadow, eye powder today, so I'm going to experiment with doing some weathering with that stuff. I've never used it before. I know it's big in the regular model stuff, so I really think it'll go really, really good for on MDF. I think it'll make a really good thing for MDF. And I was bugging James. I'm going to. I guess I got to go back and watch his video more with the his buildings. I thought that his sponge technique on the buildings turned out really, really good. So that's one of the things I'd like to experiment with. Well, and you can, it just slows you down. I think trying to get it back sorted and everything. It's easier to. I tried as much as I could to keep the parts in that each pose be on its own sprue. Probably not. And the main reason is if we do that, we have to have more molds, more sorting, more everything. Whereas if everything's on, if we put the very same sprue 3 times in there or whatever, it's easier for on our end for production. I'm hoping too to increase the sprue count. I'm hoping that we can put at least 4 sprues in with the new stuff. That's high on our list right now. We've had in the last month again crap loads of order for infantry, and we are running low on our metals production side of it, so it's about time to fire up the pot and go cast infantry. And casting infantry during the summer sucks. Yeah, no, it's actually I think we had a discussion about it here at the shop one time, but it really runs into that is the less handling that we have to do, the better it is for us and cost wise and everything like that. And like I said, whereas if multiple figures are on the same sprue, we can have one mold and just run that crap out of that mold and have one box to store them in. And then when they're packaging them, they've got one box and they take 3 of them out rather than bum. Yes, exactly. I do hope that this time that there won't be multiples of the same figures on the same sprue. So all 4 figures on the sprue should be differently posed. And like I said, I either want to we'll either go with 4 sprues or maybe we'll go still with 3 sprues, but maybe go with 5 to a sprue or something like that. We're starting to approach our modeling, especially with the CAVs and infantry, getting those set up with rigs so that it's easier to maneuver things and move things. And one of the projects I've got a couple of people that are working on, kind of on the side deal, is we're working on a couple of little mini CAV movies using Unreal Engine. And so we had to go back and remodel some models, because when we have always built things in the past, it was just for 3D printing and production. But they're not set up where we can just break them in parts easily and rig them, and where we can drop them into Unreal. So we're working on some models right now, getting those rigged up. Okay, loaded question. Has a lighter weight quick play rule set been thought about at all? I'm sure probably not high in the production order and list, and that's fine, but curious. Well, there's the quick start rules. I don't know that we can lighter weight the game than that. I don't want to get into a Alpha Strike BattleTech kind of scenario. So, to me, light rules are, just playing the game with less of the things. So, but part of the rules update I think will also streamline some things too. I mean, obviously getting rid of close combat, things like that is going to it comes back to that speech, that I've made before. I'm never going to produce a game that I am not that I wouldn't play and have fun with, and that may ostracize me a bit and maybe turn off some players that are looking for something more in that deal. But I can't cut the game down to its nuts and bolts. But like I said, you can play with just the bare bones and cut a lot of stuff out if you don't want to use it, and just get it basically down to the combat, just movement and combat. So. But I realize why they did BattleTech and Alpha Strike the way that they did in their thought process. But I think that they have created two different games, and those games are just sucking things off of each other. And at some point they're going to probably have to decide, which I think at this point it'll probably be Alpha Strike, and just kind of move on. Trying to produce product for two different lines, and yuck. So don't hate me because I'm beautiful. We're working. We're trying to get it things a little less intimidating for newer players. And it's I guess I'm too old school. Hi Chandler, how are you doing? I was doing Conway Twitty impersonations earlier. Hello, darling. It's been a long time. John Alpha striked me. Hey. Is that, did you start playing Alpha Strike? Is that what you mean by that? See, and and that's really, I enjoy playing BattleTech. That's where I got into mecha and everything like that. Well, actually starting to watch Robotech, and then that kind of led into BattleTech. Or Battle Droids. I'd been watching Robotech, and while there's a box sitting at the game store with the pictures of the Robotech stuff on it. So I was like, oh, hey, let's go try that out. And and I enjoy playing BattleTech. I enjoy playing BattleTech for what it was. Um, I, I don't have a problem with that part of it. Um, where BattleTech lost me was the direction that they went with the stories. With the they couldn't make up their mind what they wanted to be. So okay, let's speed up the game. Let's bring in the clans. Let's write this. Let's jump ahead and do. Oh, now we're going to do nukes and end of the world and lumber mix and just blah. I've read some of the more recent stuff that they've done on with some of the story ideas and stuff like that. I think they're kind of embracing that original feeling for BattleTech, but it's just too late for me. I've moved on. And it's okay, Hobby. You can play the other game. You have my permission. I watched a battle report from a game the other day that somebody had put up. It was just a lance versus a lance for mix, and playing straight up BattleTech, not Alpha. I couldn't get into BattleTech. It was too much to comprehend at once. Says the guy that's playing CAV. I never thought BattleTech was a hard system or whatever. It's slow, and if you have the time and that's you feel like playing it, it's good. But it was it's a variant. So the tyrant that's the earlier version of the tyrant, and they've just come out with it's just a later design. There's multiple variants of the tyrant out there. I'd say that probably the tyrant that's currently on that we have in the deal is probably would be a D or an E model. I know one of the things, and talking about missiles, as part of the rules update, and I might have mentioned this on the deal, and is guided missiles will still be guided missiles. We're not going to anything like that, but we are breaking guided missiles down into 3 types of guided missiles. You're going to have air to air, surface to air, and air to surface. So, and we'll just add that on to the deal. There's not different rules about them as far as what they do and how they work and everything like that, but it will matter from the standpoint of it will make models be. I think it'll add a little bit of level of. I don't want to say realism because it's not a realistic game, but it fixes a couple of issues that I think that the game has, and causes the models to be a little more not as journeyman as some of them are. Obviously like the Tuseki with guided missiles, and you could argue from the standpoint that in the future that the missiles are programmable to be what you want them to be, but I don't think that a Tuseki should have a missile that would be able to take out an air interceptor, like the that's a like the Adenese, the Eagle, or something like that. So that's where that kind of comes from. So the Tuseki would be right, and that's where it comes from. I think it's more of a sense thing. It doesn't add an extra element, a new rule, or anything like that. It's just guided missiles will be broken down into the type of guided missiles they are: air to air, surface to air, air to surface, and it adds a little more variety between the models. And technically, I guess there are four versions. I guess I just gonna say, now I think about it, they're surface to surface missiles. Yes. So actually, there's four. Yeah, because it's just a matter of of putting it into the name. It'll just be guided missile SSM, and or not even guided missile. It'll just, instead of using GMs, it'll go to probably SSM or ASM, or S you know ASM, AAA. So it's just a matter of who it can shoot at, and I think that will, it gives us a whole nother grouping of weapons without having a whole new set of rules. And that'll help too with the anti-aircraft. Something like the what am I thinking about? The tank that's got the guided missiles on the anti-air one. They haven't produced it yet, but the card's out there. But that thing is and that's kind of one of the things that led into it, because I mean that's a true air surface to air missile launcher. I mean, it's made to take out aircraft. But if you don't come up with a whole special rule for it or something like that, I know it's not the Ashiguro. It's an open model. Naturally, I brought it up, and now it's driving me crazy. And I see, is it the Gecko? I think it, or no, or the Arbalist. Maybe it's the Arbalist. I think it's the Arbalist. Yeah. So, and that's, we had to make a change. That's where the whole change with anti-aircraft came up, because all of a sudden now we had this true surface to air missile launcher being a deadly ground, taking out other CAVs and stuff, because it's got these four guided missiles, and that's not very accurate. So rather than have different computers and different this and different rules and everything like that, we can just specialize the guided missiles. So all of a sudden you've got the Arbalist with four SAM launchers, and that's all it can do. It can shoot surface to air missiles. Will there ever be a vehicle with a heavy howitzer? Yes. Are the Paladins not? Yeah, I think there's like 3 versions of the Paladins or whatever. There's a Paladin Mark II and a Mark III. See how those went. Data card. Yeah, the Paladin Mark II has a heavy howitzer. And the Paladin Mark III does. Or maybe they're just two different versions. But yes, both the Paladin Mark II and the Mark III have heavy howitzers on them. Well, and we don't have a miniature for it yet, but basically they are M109s. So we'll do a futuristic version of the M109 down the road. Because I know too, because James, brought up we're going to have like, I don't know if we'll do it necessarily with the heavy howitzers, but with the lights or something like that, have towed artillery for like infantry to use too. If you use semi-guided rockets on a model chain fire. Well, I think the only guided rockets are lasers. So they actually have to be tagged, I believe, for the rockets to work. I don't think that laser guided rockets work with just a normal tag or with a normal target lock. I'd have to go back and double check that, but yeah. So they're laser guided rockets. Yeah. So chain fire requires a target lock. Now you could I mean you could combine, well, no, that'd be hard for you. I guess there may be a certain instance where you could target lock and shoot, but if you're not tagging for yourself or, but then if you're not doing the tag, I said their rockets are laser guided, so they require a tag, and tag does not allow. No, because the chain fire requires an actual target lock because it's a computer based event. So tag is not something that you can share with chain fire. Now somebody could use your tag. So if you had multiple models out there that with laser guided rockets, and the first guy does the tag, then the other ones would be able to use that bonus for them, but they'd still have to make their own rules. The other thing that I'm looking forward to that we were talking about the other day when we were talking about future models is the mobile infantry. Yes, if you can, tag can be combined as an automatic with a direct fire attack. All right, recon model with EST and tag locks and paints. Strike lead accepts and fires. Can the other models and squad follow the chain fire if not guided in? Well, in order to use chain fire now, everybody has to have the chain fire on their model. So the recon model could use the target lock, transfer that target lock to the strike lead, and then if the strike lead makes a successful roll against the strike point, then the other models in his squad that have chain fire would then be able to use his hit. Now, if the strike lead shot laser guided munitions, I don't know. I have to do some thinking on that. You might write that example up on the forums and let me kind of play with that a little bit and make sure I'm covering the bases there. You got a lot happening that all has to go together right there to make that happen. So. Not necessarily. You don't need model names on there. Just that example there. The models will just have to fit in to make the example work. It's more of what is affecting what. So. I mean, off the top of my head, just looking at the example, the target lock is there from the recon model. The EST transfers it to the strike leader or to the entire squad. And he makes a strike point roll. So he has a successful target lock and the strike point. I guess where it could get kind of funky is he makes a successful roll, but he makes that roll because of the +1, because of the laser guided stuff, that if they weren't laser guided, that he would not have a successful strike point. Yeah, that's where it kind of gets goofy. The one side of me thinks that if he is firing laser guided rockets, that the target lock is kind of inconsequential, because his whole attack is based upon a model being tagged and shooting laser guided missile or rockets and those into that area, and the laser, and they guide themselves in. So that's kind of where it's kind of going on the deal. I would think that a model that was shooting laser guided rockets would be kind of outside the. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's something that you're going to see a whole lot. No, the EST is sharing target lock through their because but since an EST is a squad based deal, it's kind of more of a more localized, and because of the range, it's more of a localized thing that the recon mech is transferring to the other squad mates. So it's through the battle net, but it's not through the satellite side of it. It's just through their local connections. But it's an like I said, there's a lot of things that have to happen for that scenario to happen. But it's an interesting thought process to go through, and that way we have an official, because parts of it could apply to other things. But no, that's EST it's delegated to just the squad that everybody is in, and because of the range that you have to be within 36 inches of the model that's transferring it to you, that's all. It's all consider it like a local area network. You could the overall the target locks would be more of a and it's not just limited to satellites. I'm trying to think of a really good example, modern stuff or whatever like that, but the satellites can help transfer it, but every model to a degree, infantry at the very bottom of the pocket because they're not going to have nearly the resources. But think of every model that's on the board in a combat situation is a node of that network. So, and the satellite would be a node, spaceships would be nodes. Everything is all part of that. And if they're available, then all that stuff can get transferred between everything. But if they're not, they don't necessarily have to have it. Each node can get that information out to another node. I mean, we're not going to come up with this grand scheme of ranges or anything because we're kind of playing on the game board. But you know, if you've got an entire squad or an entire force group that's fighting on that area or whatever, and let's say they're cut off from their satellites or cut off from their spaceships or whatever, then each model is transmitting that stuff through the battle net to other models on the deal. All right, the difference between EST and chain fire pod. An EST is strictly around a target lock, okay? So there's not necessarily the reason to stack it, which I'll explain why. So EST is a model with EST has the ability to take his target lock and transfer that target lock to other models in his squad, okay? So that allows you to direct fire, that could allow you to whatever. Chain fire pod, and the only model that's required to have the ability that needs that is the EST. As long as that recon has EST, the other guys can accept the signal and use EST. Chain fire pod requires every model that's using it to have a chain fire pod. And a chain fire pod transfers and allows a model to use another strike point. So if model 1 target locks, and it requires a target lock. So if model 1 target locks a strike point and it makes a successful hit, then everybody else in his squad that also has a chain fire pod automatically gets to shoot at that strike point without making the roll. So do they work together? They can. They don't stack though. So if you had, let's say you had a 5 model fire support squad. One of them is a recon, 4 of them is fire support. Normally for that to work, Mr. Fire Support model number 1 would have to target lock the strike point area, make his roll, and if he's successful, go on. The recon model in this example could use his target lock action, transfer that target lock through EST to the other models in the squad. Then the squad, the first model would then make his roll as if he had a target lock. And then if he was successful on that strike point, everybody else that was in the squad with chain fire pods would then be able to chain into his strike point location. Did that make sense? I hope. Bueller? Hello, darling. I'm assuming that UEP is yep. Is there a limit to the chain fire pods? I believe they just have to be in the same squad. I think it's like EST. I think it's just shareable in the squad. I guess maybe if for the sake of everything kind of being the same. No, you're thinking of the fire control. And up to 3 units can use that. Yeah, you're thinking of FCS, fire control systems, which those guys are using each other to triangulate an attack. But talking about the limiter, we probably ought to put a range in there for chain fire pods. No, the max is +2. If there's you and another model in the squad with fire control, you get a +1. If there's a third model or more, you get a +2. Because the whole idea behind it is triangulating the attack. So you have three points. So there's really no need to more models don't help with the triangulate. But since we have, the 36-inch range on EST, we probably ought to have a 36-inch range on chain fire so that because that's kind of a local area thing since it's all squad based. Quad. Well, I was trying to think of how you could say that quadrangulate. I mean, you could take it to all the way up to just keep going there. I guess technically having more to do that would maybe improve the deal, but you only need 3 points to make it work. So. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about the 8 octangulate. Since I don't hear those words come up a whole lot, I'm going to assume that that's not a necessary thing. I hear triangulate a lot, but yeah, well, and that's the reason we had to do it that way is because of the Scots sticking piles of FCS models into a single squad and having some ungodly numbers that they can't ever miss. We live and we learn. We play our game, and then we find those guys that want to twist what was supposed to be pure and nice and clean and into these horrible creatures. So, and Chandler, I talked before you come in. I appreciate the job you did at the convention last weekend. I didn't realize you were going to get quite that involved. I just figured you guys would show and play a game. So I already got you some stuff and everything like that, but I do appreciate it. We'll make it up for you. My plan is as everything kind of gets a little bit back to normal, that I wanted to to get a games day down there at Reaper, for coming down for a Saturday or something. Well, no, I mean, every show we do lots of demos. So I'm assuming everything seemed like it went over real well. I know that Ross was talking earlier in our chat today that he had 5 or 6 new people that got a hold of him about wanting to play down at Texas Toy Soldiers. It's what I tell everybody: if you build it, they will come. Yeah, 6 Aquila in a squad with a +5. Right. Yeah, it just was getting crazy. Oh yeah, I had 2 Battletech converted. Well, and it's not necessarily a conversion. It's just, hey, just try it out. It's a different way of playing a mech game. I was actually thinking, I was driving earlier today. I had to go over to Wichita for a doctor's appointment. And I thought it might be fun to stat up some CAVs using Battletech stats and do a Battletech models versus a CAV models battle. Might be kind of funny. See if the mighty CAVs can come out on the top. I mean, if you use straight up CAV rules versus Battletech rules, Battletech mechs would be steaming piles of nothing out in the board. I know years ago when I very first did the Rogue Legion stuff, which some of those transferred over to CAV, that we had Battletech stats for them. So I think I've got some of them. I know like the Halberd and Concussion and stuff like that, that we had some Battletech statted up versions of them. I'll just have to see if I can still get them, because I think back when I did them, I used the whatever that mech generator that they had there for a while. So they may all be in that. They may not be where I can access them. Well, not necessarily. I think they kind of sometimes don't remember what they said, but originally in Battletech, battle mechs were 8 to 12 meters tall. So that would put them in the 24 to 36 foot range. And most CAVs are kind of in the 30-foot range. So if you measure a CAV, wherever 2 inches are on our models, that's 30 feet. So like here's the Dictator. So the Dictator, and if you go, the highest point on him is his rocket launcher. So you could either do it from body, or you could go from you know, from shoulder. But from bottom of foot to the top of the rocket pod is 2 3/8. So you would have what, probably a 30, CAV would be 35 feet, 36 feet. So, like I said, in all the stuff that I read back in the day for BattleTech, mechs were 8 to 12 meters tall, which would put them in the 24 to 36 foot range. I've seen artwork, especially as of late, where they show them look like they're 100 feet tall or something like that. But I think it's how you would want to define that. But in my mind, that was what I was always told. Google says a Banshee is 15.2 meters tall. Yeah, so it's like 45 feet. And they may have come back and redid their stuff. I'm just saying from the original BattleTech rules up, I don't, through the compendiums and everything like that, mechs were always 8 to 12 meters tall. But they may have come back and try to retweak that to, you know, because they obviously have a scale issue at times that yeah, most of your calves are around 3-story tall. That's 30 feet. You figure a 10-foot story. All right, see you later, JS Twitch. Because that makes the straight dictator here up to his rocket pod about 12 meters tall. So, but part of the problem is originally they really didn't have a scale other than there was map scale, which if I remember right, a hex in BattleTech is 100 feet, I think. 100 feet or 100 meters. It means 100 feet. So, so technically, you know, when you're playing inch and a quarter hexes or whatever, that actually made the in actual scale, your mechs were going to be like, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch tall. So you had map scale and you had mech scale. So when they started doing mechs, they just kind of went over in the deal. Then at some point, they came out and said, no, that they are 1 2/85. And then, and would be equivalent to micro armor. Well, you put micro armor tanks next to BattleTech tanks, and you're like, no, that's not a deal. So then they come back and they said, oh, no, we're 1/300 scale. And, but still nobody made the sculptors. And a lot of that's because it was done by hand, didn't make them work together. So then at some point, oh, no, we're not 1/300th, we're 6 millimeter, which I think works out to about the same or whatever. The problem that you have with using millimeters is the same thing that we run into in CAV, is that 6 millimeters is equivalent to a certain amount of distance or height on a person. So original scale for modeling and everything was figured on a human being that was 5'3", 5'4", somewhere right in there. So you had that. So then you came back with, is that from the bottom of the foot up to the eye level or to the top of the head? Well, the reason pretty much the decision was made to go to eye level was because at the time, a lot of this being played was Civil War and Napoleonics and everything. So they had all these big hats and things like that. So if you tried to go to top of the head, it got really weird. So they came back and said, no, you know, and this is, you're going to get 30 different versions of this. So this is my version from talking to a lot of people, reading a lot of things that I think is kind of a higher end grouping of things. So everybody decided we'll go to bottom of foot up to eye level. So if a 6 millimeter figure is 6 millimeters, that's from bottom of foot up until eye level. And so if you're using a 5'3" guy, you know, that makes, you know, the guy about 5 feet from the bottom of foot up to eye level, which is 60 inches. So, so at that point, you know, a 6 millimeter figure would be from bottom of foot up to the eye, and that would measure 6 millimeters, and that would equal 60 inches. Well, the other side that came back from that later was, well, people are not that short anymore. The average height for a person now is 5'9". So, and that's just going to go up. So people are going to be, you know, taller in the future and so forth and so on. So what you decide should be the average of the person is what throws scale all to hell. Because if you use the 5'3" scale and make everybody, you know, everybody 60 inches tall from bottom of foot up to their eye level, it makes for very small figures. So when we played, when we very first started at Reaper, making models, that's where heroic scale came from. Is because, hey, if you took true 25 millimeters and measured from the bottom of the foot to the eye, they were 1 inch little tall guys, and they just looked funny. So heroic scale, okay, well, let's kind of beef those up a little bit, and we'll call it, you know, heroic scale, heroic 25 millimeter. And that kind of led into 28 and 32, you know, there's a whole set of arguments and stuff that goes there. So I I'll have to find an example, but because I came through there in a modeling deal, this all came up one day, and so I came through, and I think we were arguing over, well, it really wasn't arguing. It might have been we were talking about 10 millimeter scale. So I went through and I put, I'll try to find that example because I've got it out there somewhere because I typed it all up. If you how if you went with a 5'3" guy, a 5'9" guy, or a 6 foot tall guy. So that's kind of where I'm at on scale. Is I use a 6 foot tall guy, which is 72 inches, from bottom of foot to top of head. So which makes it a 5'9" guy from bottom of foot up to his eyes. So if you work that out using a 5'9" guy as your base for 10 millimeter, it comes out to like 1 and 1/72, 174, maybe right in there or something. And that was just a really weird number. So when I did CAV, I said, okay, we're going to do 10 millimeter, and that's 1/180th, because that made 1 inch equals 15 feet. So it made it a very simple, this is how you got to go and you need to do it. And we don't have to be really right on the number, because if you sit down and figure like 15 millimeter scale out to what it should be, whether you're using 5'3", 5'9", or whatever, it comes out to like 1 1/20th, 1 1/25th, somewhere in there. And I'll try to find these tomorrow and put them up on the forums. So, but the accepted scale for 15 millimeter is 1 100th. So if you ask any hardcore 15 millimeter guy, hey, what scale do you play? And it's 1 100th. Well, it's not. If you figure it out, no matter what you use for your height, 15 millimeters should be in the 1 1/20th area. So, and like I said, as you get smaller, it makes a bigger difference as far as scale numbers. But going from 1 1/72nd to 1 1/80th, is just a millimeter or half a millimeter in actual how it would be. So that's kind of where I came from. So that's where I come up with 1/80th scale. That makes 3/4 of an inch work out to about 10 feet tall, which is great for terrain. It's just a good measurement for that. So, but you'll have 10 millimeter guys try to argue with you and tell you, no, 10 millimeter is 1 1/60th, 1 1/50th, 1 1/44. And I just, it can't be. It doesn't work out that way because it's, you know, they considered forever that 1/72nd scale is 25 millimeter. Well, if you're using true scale, if 1 1/72nd equals 25 millimeters, and you're doubling or you're halving it to go to 1 1/44 scale, you would take 25 millimeters and cut it in half. That's 12.5 millimeters. So, to me, 1 1/44, 1 1/50th, whatever, is really more 12 millimeter scale. So, all right, there is my whole scale thing. I could go on for scale for days. Okay, Semi-Guy Rockets question is posted. I used a squat I've been considering, which would push the maximum so we can see how big it could. Okay, I will take a look at that tomorrow and go from there. I will say that I think that my last little comment on scale is I think the new Battletech stuff that they did with the plastics, I think you had one guy in charge, and I think he tried to do a better job of getting the scale right. As far as proportionate to each other, are they 1 1/300th? Are they 6 millimeter or whatever? I don't know. I haven't gone into that depth. So just know that scale is very subjective. I guess that's the final thought I can leave for you. Scale is subjective. But as far as what we play is 1 1/80th. I call it 10 millimeter. I think it's 10 millimeter. So 1 inch equals 15 feet. 3/4 of an inch is about 10 feet. It makes a door, which is 6'8", work out to about, I think, right at a 1/2 inch tall. It's just good measurements, easy measurements for the normal guy to. So. All right, guys. So have a good night. Carry on. Hello, darling. I guess that'd be goodbye, darling. Night, guys. Y'all take care. Thanks for coming in. I will talk at you later.